Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Beat the Maze. It's your girl
And
Jaysha,
it's EMB
and we are by ourselves
for the first
today.
time in a long time.
Yes, we have not been by ourselves in quite some time.
Yeah.
It's been maybe 10 episodes,
Yeah, about that.
which is a long time, y'all, because we predate all of our episodes. So
It was
that's
supposed to be
a
like
couple of months.
7, and then we was like,
Not really feeling it. It was supposed to be like every other episode. It was supposed to be like, oh, this episode is a guest. Other episode is us. This episode is a guest. But then it's just like you'd be like, all right, we filmed the episodes, and we'd be like, yeah, you wanna,
yeah, like film it, and we
Mhm.
give so much to our guests. We love all our guests that come
Yes.
on, and we appreciate them so much. But to do that, and we do, y'all know, we do 40 minutes, 30 minutes, hour episodes. So it's like you can't do 2-3 hours of just recording.
Yeah,
That's a lot. And I think that would be unfair to us. I think it would be unfair to you guys as our audience because
because you wouldn't get our best selves.
we wanted to be authentic as possible, which is why we started this podcast and why we do what we do and why we bring on the people that we bring on. So, Jaysha, how are you doing? How's your week been going?
We get to go in depth this time. We normally don't go in depth because we have a guest. So
Yeah.
I can go in depth on how my week's been going. This week has been so work related. This week has been interesting. I'm heading, well, head's not the word, but I'm working on, I guess you can say head, my respective space. I have ownership
Okay.
of the graphic design things for this project that we have coming up for my job. It's kind of a big project. So that is kind of interesting because I know the amount of time that it takes to get the work done. I've been doing it in phases because I'm also have ownership over with the fiscal year closing out and the new one starting now. I have ownership over the fiscal data for the office. So I'm doing two separate things.
Okay.
And I haven't I've been slowly doing things because I don't want to overwhelm myself, but also I could be doing more. So it's been interesting because I'm trying to make sure I don't put myself at a deficit because the event is 2 weeks from now, and I don't want to be struggling, grasping for air. Because you remember when I was doing it, the last event that I did, it came out well, it came together perfectly. But I was at work till 8 p.m. one day, and that was because I have been slacking the week, and I wasn't really holding up my end like I needed to.
That self-management piece has been really important.
Yeah. And so when it was time for the deliverables to be delivered, I had completed them, but I didn't account that people wanted to give edits and that they wanted things revised. And so that was when putting in the overtime, and it doesn't feel good to be working at 8 p.m. at night, because you had to get it out. I was texting me and my manager it's not my manager, me and my head were sending each other pings. She's calling me on my personal phone at 10 p.m. At 8 a.m. because this has to get done. And it's our job to do it. So I understand, with work there, you do have those sacrifices that you have to put in some days. But that actual event was just because I had been slacking on my end. So
right.
I've been trying to be a lot more diligent on myself, but not overwhelming myself. And especially I'll say personally for me with my corporate experience, when you take your whole to-do list and you do it in one day, you might think that you're doing good, that's a high five. No, it just looks like they don't need you for that role because you can complete it all in one day. So if you
can do the work quickly, you don't need to
so
do on as much. I can see that.
if you can do it quickly, then why do we need you in a sense? But then also it's also you just get more work put on it. And I say this softly and touchingly. I'm not an overachiever. I do the work that's given to me, but I make sure it's quality work. And I pick up more work when I'm ready and I'm able to. I don't overload myself in work.
I see either way that can go, because I think some people can run with that and they say, well, I'm just giving the work I'm given to me. But it's naturally we as humans think that you're supposed to read our minds. So your head might be someone who's like, yo, I got all this work to be doing and nobody's taking up, nobody's showing initiative, nobody is being a leader. But on the other end, it could look like, well, you got all that work done really fast. Well,
Jaysha's never doing anything. Her work's always done. And then that also puts pressure on you from another end because when you finish things drastically quicker than the rest of the team, it puts you at and odd because now everyone's looking at you like, what you got doing? Now you got 10 sets of eyes on what normally 2 sets of eyes would look at because everybody wants to
Mm.
know how you finish so fast.
So how do you balance like still being someone that takes initiative and being diligent with your work with not being an overachiever and not throwing the rest of the group under the bus for lack of a better term?
I think the first thing I did when I first thing I do and what I did when I go into any new work environment, I survey the culture and
Mhm.
like the work culture. So when I came in with my nice Excel sheet. I had everything written out, every task, every due date. And I still update it when I have big things that like this event is a bigger thing that I have a lot of little medial tasks. So I have to keep up with those due dates. But for I came in with the Excel and I realized very quickly in my head told me like, yeah, like that's not gonna work because people just be throwing stuff like this, and this. You just kind of pick it up and do it.
Mhm.
And so I realized very quickly, okay, everyone's working at a set pace. No
Mhm.
one's doing exponential or like crazy out of the box stuff. Everybody's working at like their own pace.
Mhm.
If it don't get done by that time, it's not getting done unless it's something major like that has to get done within like that time period.
Mhm.
So I took note of that and I adjusted myself to the working culture. Like if I was at a different firm whose culture was like work, work, work nonstop, it would be different. Even if I was it doesn't even relate to the firm because if I was in a different sector of where I work, it would be a completely different like work environment and like
Mhm.
speed pace of work. So I took notice of that. I also took notice to like how I do things. And I know I'm a person, if you give me the assignment today, I'm not starting it today. I'm not because I already was working on something for it. So if I have 4
Hmm.
things on my list and you add a 5th one and
That
I'm working on 3 currently,
oh well, yeah, that
it
makes
falls
sense.
in line.
You
Like it
gotta
goes through
prioritize,
we have
yeah.
to go through the processes. Unless it's like, oh, this thing you just added, I need it tonight or I need it tomorrow. Then I bump it up.
Right.
But I don't start things immediate. What I do is I take notes on them. I take really detailed notes on tasks that are given to me.
Copious notes.
Yes. So when I'm going through them and I'm like, okay, now we're 2 days later and I'm getting to what you asked me to do
Mhm.
for next week, I can go in and edit on it. And then I can ask questions like, hey, I'm working on this. Like, I need more details on that. Or I need to clarify on that. But so far, I don't think, like, I haven't noticed anyone being adverse to that. Majority of my team works that way as well.
Mhm.
So everyone's like really opening and the last thing I would say is I communicate to make sure that it doesn't come off as I'm overachieving or underachieving.
Mhm.
I communicate what I'm doing or what I'm waiting on and what I'm working with. So for instance, I was having an issue with like some software on my laptop. And so for a week, I couldn't touch any of my design software, which is difficult when my job is
Revolves
mostly
around
design.
graphic design,
So
yeah.
I spent that week working on the fiscal data stuff that I had to pull together.
Uh-huh.
And instead of it looking like Jason's just not doing anything, I explained to the person, she wasn't even checking for me. She wasn't even asking for me. And none of my deliverables would do anytime soon. But I still explained to her, hey, I'm having this issue with my software.
Right.
So just for 5 seconds, if you even think, hey, Jason, have you worked on any of this? Oh, remember you told me you were having those issues with your
And this
software.
is why. Okay. I see
So
that.
I over communicate, especially when it comes to me. And I learned from a bad experience with my previous job of under communicating, like never saying anything and just like being silent and in the corner. It just doesn't work in the corporate space.
Right.
You can't hide in the corporate space. And I was so used to like in my work environments, I get my work done, I'm quiet, I'm to myself. And this work environment I'm in now is very network heavy
Mhm.
and they're very big on like community in a corporate space. Like community is relative, but they're big on community. So I over communicate like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that with respect to my own privacy, of course. But
Mhm.
I'm over communicating that I don't have access to my software or I'm asking questions, even if they seem like small, medial questions, even if like you probably wouldn't do an accent, I'm gonna ask them because I need to know
Mhm.
because it affects me. And the way I view things, and I tell you all the time, it's like if it's annoying to you, you can't it might be annoying, but you can't help but respect me for wanting to just cover my own tail.
Right.
You know? So yeah. But working on that with work. So making sure that I'm staying on top of that. And my personal brand, that has been going really well. I'm very happy. I relaunched my YouTube channel.
Woo!
Yeah, that was a long time coming.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of launching my candle company. Also has been a very long time coming. I've been saying I want to do it for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm actually doing it like for real doing it. Like I ordered the scents, I ordered more wax, I ordered the jars. It's really happening.
Just putting the things in step.
It's really happening. So that's kind of when I was doing it last year, I was going from the direction of like, let's do all the legal stuff first and then do the actual designing. But I realized the designing was the hard part.
Ain't
That
no
was the
point in
meat.
having a legally set up business if you ain't got no candle.
Yeah, like I love a good analogy.
Contract is airtight and no smells.
He always jokes with me on my analogies, but it's like I had all the sides together and no meat. Like we having a meal with just sides, there's no meat. So now I decided, okay, I know because I've done it already, and I'm gonna tweak it obviously, but because I've done it, I know how to set up the legal work.
Right.
Now I need to actually put together the candles. I need to put together the product and what I like. And so I'm in testing phase. So our house smells like a lot of different things.
It'd be lit though. She'd be telling me like, this is going on, that is good, this is not good, this is what it's supposed to smell like, this is like, and you just kind of start learning about new things. This is why a candle is quality made. This is why, is that right? Quality made?
Yeah, that works.
This is why a candle is made with quality. This is why a candle is poorly made based on candle maker standards. And so like, it's interesting.
I was just about to ask you, do you feel like you actually learning stuff, or you just like be like, okay?
Yeah, I think when I go, because I shop for candles every now and again, I think that it gives you something to look for and look forward to. Because before, and I don't know if any of y'all just kind of think about this or relate to this, but you just kind of go into Marshalls or TJ Maxx, you get a candle, you light it, and you want the room to smell like how you want it to smell, and that's it. But I think there's so much more that goes into it, that goes into making it, that goes into wicking it, curing it, all of that.
Look at you with vocab words.
And,
Yeah, I agree. I think when I first got into candles, I thought it was just a simple, you pick out a nice smell. But I think one of the harder parts, especially about having an e-commerce candle business, because it's not in person, there's no brick and mortar, is finding a way of producing scents and then just describing them well. So that, because I don't know about you, but I don't personally buy candles. I don't buy fragrance online unless I've smelled it in store. So that's where you have to get creative, and you have to find ways of like informing people of what's in your candle so that they want to buy it and blind buy, because they're not going to see it in person. And so, yeah, that's been exciting. That's been coming along. I'm super excited. I have a jar that I'm looking at. I'm ready for the rest of my jars to get in here, because I'm ready to just finally get it. Like once the jar is set, I know I already have I have like 2 fragrances. Actually, all 3 of these fragrances were very nice fragrances. I don't know if I would release all 3 of them this fall, but all 3 are nice. But once I get the candle jar, I got the fragrance together, and I'm gonna set it up and just roll it out. Like just press publish on the page. Cool. And then lastly, with my personal, I'm doing very well. For those of you who don't know, I suffer from like seasonal depression. And it's normally around this time in September, October, normally really September 1st. And I told you, I was like, I can feel like the air switch. Like I feel like the change in energies.
Right.
But I've been feeling really well. I've been working out every day. I'm doing this workout challenge with my trainer, and I feel really good. Like I feel really good. And I think the working out and that constant serotonin boost, is it serotonin or is it dopamine?
Dopamine.
I think serotonin will put you to sleep. That constant.
Well, that's melatonin. Serotonin. Yeah, that's melatonin to put you to sleep. Dopamine is like your happiness.
But serotonin has something to do with happiness too.
I think it's energy.
You gonna look it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has something to do with like, because I think they say like there's like a love you perspective, and there's like an addictive perspective, which dopamine would be the addictive one. I think serotonin is the love you one.
Carry messages between nerve cells in the brain, plays a key role in body functions such as mood, sleep, digestion, nausea, wound healing.
Yeah, okay, so serotonin is more mood-based. It's the emotional connection, where dopamine is like the physical connection. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you're listening to this and you're like, no, you're completely wrong. Please let me know. But yeah, I think it's been a constant like serotonin or dopamine boost of like working out. And like when people say like working out really helps your energy levels, it really helps your mind. I didn't really believe it. And I also didn't like working out, but now I really do feel that. Like I feel when I leave my workouts, I feel great. Like I feel like I'm on 10. I feel like She-Hulk, like I could just break the table in half. Like I feel great. So, um, yeah, I've been doing really, really well. I'm very happy for my mental state. I don't want to jinx it though. So I've been trying to like keep it calm and not be like, oh, I'm straight. Like, 'cause,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm straight. And then next week, I don't want to get out of bed. So,
Right.
how about you? Because I talked
I'm not gonna match that level of detail.
a
I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I don't go that in details with my stories, but I've been doing very well. I think since the last time that I really, really talked about my life on this podcast, it's been a number of changes. So the first thing is I've been doing the 75-day challenge. If anybody's heard about it on Instagram, it's working out twice a day, you're eating, following a diet, um, doing a bunch of other things, reading. And that has been it's been interesting. It hasn't been the most fun, I'll admit, but I know it's not supposed to be fun. It's really supposed to be more of like
discipline.
disciplining your mind. And so I think that's one thing that definitely helps. I think getting back into working out, like you were talking about, has been very, very helpful to just my mood, my discipline. And like last night, I came in and we were out, we were doing what we would do. I was supposed to go play chess with one of my homies. Didn't happen, came back, and I was like, oh man, I still got to work out. So we ate, we chilled, and then I went and did 2 workouts and I read and I did what I had to do, made sure I got my gallon of water drank within the time. So just things like that. I recommend it for anybody who's looking to challenge themselves and just get to a place where like you feel like you're kind of in a rut, you feel like you're lacking. I think it's something great to do. I've been working on building up my business. So I think I told y'all before, but part of my business is helping people communicate better, especially men, to have better quality in their long lasting relationships and form a more long lasting relationships with those in their lives. So that's been really interesting. Um, Working on some things to release, working on a couple personal things I'm not going to speak about on the on the platform.
But soon
And
comes, soon
but you
comes.
know, overall, life has just been good. Life has just been about relaxing and just kind of not trying to plan everything, but really just about taking it as it comes and still having a plan, but not sticking so much to the plan that you can't adjust to what's going on in your day-to-day life. So that's one thing that I've been learning throughout everything. And I think that's been kind of helpful. So that's my
word
life.
right there. Not taking things as they come, being able to have a guideline, but not have to plan every detail.
Yes. Cause I like yeah, it's I think it's important to just have some level of flexibility. And I think that's one thing that we kind of diagnose. Either you don't have any flexibility or you have way too much flexibility. And it's like too much of anything is bad,
It's too
but
bad for you.
having a good common ground, having intentional times where you can just ugh, but also having times where you're like, okay, this is what I know I have to do. Nothing's going to get in the way of this. And just having a little bit of everything in between.
I think reflecting on that though, like I used to not think too much of everything's too bad. Like I'm like, what's the problem of doing this? And like a relative perspective, but like, what's the problem of me resting and like doing this? But like you've told me, and I'm realizing in certain places, I do think in extremes. I don't really think in medium ground. I think in like it's either black or white, and like two separate obstacles. So I think it is true that there is a space where you're not doing too much, you're not doing too little. You're in a good medium ground. But then also, I challenge our listeners to kind of find that space in themselves because it is not the same for everyone, and it doesn't look even similar for everyone. Like my middle
Right.
ground and me being what's the word I'm looking for? Not peak functionality. Me being productive is high productivity and my low productivity. Finding my medium ground is a constant everyday like juggle for me. Like
Right.
it's a dancing space because I have to find things. So I write down everything in my journal, everything I do in the day, even if I didn't plan to. So if I made a phone call to the doctor's office, whatever, I write that down because I realized from therapy although it might not have been on my to-do list, that is still something that I did need to
Mm,
do
appreciating
that
the
was
little things
that
in
was
life,
still
appreciating the little
productive.
wins. Yeah.
So it's like when you look at the day, you're like, dang, I don't feel like I did nothing. I just went to work. But you made all these home calls and you grocery shop and you meal prep. Like, first of all, grocery shopping and meal prepping, we got grocery shopping and meal prep. That's a big feat. To do all of that in one day.
If you
Like
can't see, I be shining, bro, when it comes to the meal prepping. Like, it's cool. And I think it's great once you get into the routine, but
starting the routine is
just
difficult.
starting out, and for a long time, Jaisha didn't eat meat. That's also a big update.
Oh,
She started
I ate
eating
chicken.
meat again a little bit. And so I think that was one thing. Like for me, if I'm meal prepping, we buying some chicken, we buying some turkey, and we're gonna make these meals for the week. And it's like, well, you can't do that. So we started buying more fresh vegetables, which I think is good. But on the same type time, fresh vegetables
Go bad
go
just as
bad
quick as
quickly.
yeah.
And then in the middle of that, it's like we don't have nothing. We weren't buying like nothing that you could put in the freezer and nothing that could be easily prepared. So it's like, oh, we don't have no food to eat. We don't want to cook. We don't have no food to meal prep. Half the vegetables are bad. We're gonna go eat out. And that goes into cutting out discipline in other parts of our lives that
Yeah.
we talk about. So
Wholeheartedly. I think back to that point of like you doing those things for yourself though, like that is productivity. That is being productive. I was telling my friend at work, I was telling today to her about it, and like I was like, like every day she asks me, she's like, how are you? And I'm like, yo, like I had a really productive day. So she was like asking me about it, like, what does that mean by productive day? And I was like, no, like I could have like there would be days where I literally lay in bed all day in pajamas, like wholeheartedly, but I get a lot done. I might reorganize my planner, or I'll make my calls, or I'll send out emails. Me even checking my email is being productive for me.
mm,
That's me like doing things that are going to help me and my progress at some point in this week, if not today, next week, or the month later. Like it's doing something that will help you. Like
mm,
you reading your book every day, your 10 pages a day, that's a productivity strike off.
yes,
That's
you
something
building
that's
that
helping
habit.
you.
Yeah.
So
So I got a question though, right?
yeah.
Because I think some people can hear this, and I think it can be misinterpreted of like sometimes you do need those days where you're doing your menial tasks. I think some days you need those days where you're really all in. I think some days you need those days when you're going to rest. But I feel like people can hear this, and especially if they don't have something going on their own or they're just really starting out, they can be like, yo, my bar is here. When really your bar needs to be, well, my bar is here, and really my bar needs to be here on a that this needs to be my normal. It doesn't have to be up here, but it like so how do you go about not setting the bar too low?
Um, it's really a dancing act because I'm very intentional of like listening to myself and whatever my body is telling me. So if that day I wake up, it's just not a good day, like I just don't feel it. I won't force myself to do anything, but I will hold
Mm,
myself accountable and say, like, you do have this come. Like, I know this big work event I have next week. Like, I have a lot of deliverables that I need next week.
mm,
That means I either am gonna have to hit it hard at the end of the week, or I'm gonna have to hit it hard at the beginning of the week.
mm.
But at some point, I'm gonna have to hit it hard, and it's me reasoning with myself, like, we're either gonna do it on Monday or we're gonna do it on Wednesday morning when it's due. And I would rather
See,
do it on Monday. So it's me telling myself, okay, Monday, I'm gonna just go real hard. I'm gonna get everything I need to get done for work just out the way. So Tuesday could be a breeze for work, but I can focus real hard on Chase Robinson and the brand.
see, I think I do agree to a degree, but I think when it comes to like, I think people let feelings get in the way of like where they could be. And I'm not saying this to you
No, no,
specifically, but
I get what you're
I
saying.
think I think people might hear something like this, or they might like be like, "Oh, I just like I'm at work.
I don't feel like it.
I'm at work, and one thing that my coworkers find really funny is I love Mondays. Like I really love Mondays because I feel like no matter if I have a terrible week every day after, and I've had some bad weeks, or if I have a great week, if I start my week off well, it's never as bad as it could be. And I think and like people are like, yo, like, I just don't understand what you like about
I
Mondays
agree.
for real. And people are like, I've been asked the question of like, what's so special or what's going on? Do you still like Mondays? And I'm like, hell yeah, I like Mondays. And
Yeah.
I don't agree with the I'm making it. Some days now I used to be like that. I very much used to be like that. Oh, I'm
I
just
would be like, I don't know about you, but Sundays I do just be making.
some days I do just be making it, but like just making it used to be my normal. Like, oh, I'm just making it. I'm just surviving. And it's like, wow, we're not discounting anything that goes on in anyone else's
Yeah.
life. Bad shit of varying degrees happens to everyone. And I think for me, it was like, if you always look at life as I'm just making it, I'm just surviving, I forget the name of the creator, but surviving is the lowest tier when it comes to like life and enjoyment of life. And I feel like if you're never surviving, you can never level up in these. If you're
I was like, never
if
surviving.
you're always surviving, you can never really level up in any facet of life because you're always just focused on those primal instincts. And so like things like that are why I love Mondays.
I
My week
think
be terrible. I love Mondays.
I agree. If you're always in survival mode, you do miss out on the ability to thrive. But to that question though of kind of like setting the bar in that sense, I think it depends on the person.
Oh,
Like it
okay.
really depends on like because how you like push yourself and the way your work ethic is different from mine. But I would argue and say we get the same quality of work done.
Yeah.
So, but that was one of the things we had to really learn was our processes,
Yeah.
especially having the podcast together, this joint venture, we work differently.
Yeah. That's true.
And I think for me, I disagree. I'm going to disagree with you on the sense of like people put their emotions into it and their feelings because for my work and me creating, like all my content creation, from me creating for the organization that I create for me creating for this, for me creating for my personal brand, because that's what I do, and for work,
Right.
that takes creativity is an emotional attachment. It's a form of art. And it's
Yes.
for me, like I do have to be in the feelings because today, and the most free reign creation that I have is really my brand. And then second to that is this brand because I have a lot of free reign here. But like I can go into work and I know it's laid out what I need to do. I can go into the work that I do outside of work and that's laid out what I need to do. But when I get to these spaces, it is based off of feeling because I produce my best work when I'm in my best state of mind.
I totally agree with that. And I'm not saying that you should not be in tune with your feelings. It's actually against what I teach and talk about. But I think only going off of your feelings is really something that can be detrimental because
what do you mean though?
So like nobody feels like washing their clothes all the time. Nobody feels like cooking every day. Nobody feels like going to work all the time. But if you called out or I called out every time that I didn't want to go to work, we probably wouldn't be in this nice space right now. We probably wouldn't be having this nice Wi-Fi service to broadcast this podcast right now. Like, and I'm sure we could figure it out, but if you're only going off of like, I don't feel good, so I'm not going to do anything. I think you're giving yourself space to be at a detriment because your own like feelings are fickle. That's something I live by. Feelings are fickle. And so some days, like, that's why they say motivation is like second to discipline because motivation is going to come and motivation is going to go. Discipline, if you are working out every day like you're doing with this challenge, you're going to work out. There's been some days I've gone into the gym in Crocs. I've gone into the gym with no shoes. And the homies be like, yo, you are not working that hard. And you know what? I wasn't working as hard as I needed to. But I still went to the gym. I still got my workout done.
I'll agree with you on that. Like, I'll say, like, I don't dislike working out anymore, but it's not it's
yes.
It's not I'm not excited to go work out every day. What I like, and I notice what, like, I think again, it comes back to a personal thing. I notice I like tracking and saying, like, I've been going for 5 days straight.
Right.
10 days straight. Like I like that feeling of like that streak.
Right.
It keeps me motivated to like it keeps me not motivated. It keeps me determined, not determined. It keeps me
I would say
disciplined.
determined, discipline.
Yeah.
It's a dopamine release.
It keeps me disciplined to go like it is a routine. I need to work out once a day, even if I don't feel like it. But you know what? Normally what ends up happening is once I start that workout, not even halfway through, but majority like the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm in it. Like I'm locked in, like, okay, let's get it. Let's finish it.
But you didn't and to my point, you didn't give yourself that excuse of
I'm not.
I don't feel like
okay.
You didn't think yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like we think ourselves out of so much. I've thought myself out of so many things. And when you do it, it's like, damn, it wasn't even that hard. It only took an hour.
That's how I thought about the candles. Like when I went in there that day, you were like, are you gonna make candles? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make candles. Cause I haven't told myself for like the past 3 days, like, I need to go in there and make this candle. I need to go in there and make this candle. But I hadn't been feeling like making a candle. And I was finally like, okay, I'm not gonna feel like making the candle. I need to go make the candle. Or this is not gonna happen if I don't go make that candle. So yeah, I definitely agree with you then. Thank you for explaining that, because at first I thought you were going to be like, we had that conversation, like, you gotta push through.
I mean, you do, but that's
but
also part of pushing through is knowing where your limits are.
Yes.
And knowing where your limits are, it serves two purposes. Knowing where your limits are says, okay, I know where I can't go today, but knowing where your limits are also says, if I know where I'm at now, a week, 20 days, 30 days, 6 months from now, I can see how much farther I've come from my limits than where I used to be. Like when I first started working out, I just used the workout as an example. When I first started working out, like I was barely doing 245 plates on a bar. Like because I hadn't worked out in so long. Now I'm up to my max, I think, is with this shoulder. I got a little shoulder injury, little shoulder conniption. It's like 225, 235, which is 245-pound plates on each side of the bar. That don't come from I just came in the day and just no. Like I'm not a small dude, but I'm not a big dude neither. You know what I mean?
I think that's one thing I appreciate about working out is that you see growth drastically. No, drastically is not the word, but you see growth. You see growth concisely. That's the word. Concise. Specifically. That's the word.
Why,
concise or specific?
Why concise?
Because I feel like for me, for instance, planks in my core, like I be having back issues because my core is weak. But I notice like what I do now, I'll have certain workouts. So I have like, say the workout will be mountain climbers or plank jacks. Right now, I'm not at the space where I can do that comfortably, and comfortable being a relative word, but do that without it being painful.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do instead is I alternate those I'll hold the plank the entire time. But I've noticed from the first time I was holding the plank, so now I hold planks for 40 seconds. Now I used to be sweating at 20.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be shaking at 20. Now 40 seconds, I don't even get hot anymore. Like physically, my body heat doesn't warm up at 40 seconds. And I've been noticing that like this is getting easier and easier to do, which is now time for me to like incorporate newer things, make it a little harder, maybe lift a leg up or something like. But I like with working out that you can see that concise development. Like I pick up 10 pounders now, like, oh, this is nothing. When I used to pick up 10 pounders, like, well, my trainer, her name's Gian, I'd be like, Gian, like this is a little heavy. Can I go down to 8? Now it's like, oh, 10, like, let me get 15. Like, let me get. So I like that you can see that concise difference. I mean, you have the before and after pics, but like you said, you lift up the rack one day. I don't know what you like weight, like with 25, probably.
It depends on what we're talking about.
If you're just doing bicep curls.
20, 25, yeah.
Yeah, you go to the weight one day, you pick up a 20 pounder, and you're like, it's a little light today. Like,
yeah, 20 pounds.
Let me get 25.
But
that's
like
a little light too.
20 pounds, still 20 pounds.
I mean, it's 20 pounds, but it feels different.
It feels
20 pounds when a new 20 pounds feels real different than a seasoned 20 pounds.
Yes. I also think the word that you're looking for is consistent.
Is it? I think it's concise.
Concise is like brief.
Well, specific then. I don't think it's consistent because consistent is over a period of time. That's like a verb.
That's what word. No.
Adverb.
It's an adjective. Or
is it? I think it's an adverb. Consistent.
Consistently is an adverb.
Okay. Okay.
I think the word you're looking for is consistent.
I don't think it's consistent because consistent is comparing like a space of time.
It
Concise
That's
is
what you're
because I want no. I want a category. I want to only focus on that one, like in this case, muscle group. So I'm saying that from day 1 to day 15, leg groups or core. You see a concise difference. You can specifically look at this muscle group and see that I've grown here.
Jeez.
Consistency was, I think, for me would be like over, like me saying like, oh, like I've grown. I can hold 50 pounds. Okay.
But
okay.
that's not
You're
that
right.
long.
You're right. I just said it. I just said it out loud and you're right. You're right.
She do this to me all
It's
the time.
consistent. but and I tell him that I think he should be happy that he is with someone who can admit when they are wrong. And that when and he can admit when he's wrong too, when he's wrong. We gotta talk about it. We be talking because he gonna be like, well, and I'd be like, no.
If you can, because I don't like
being told you're wrong. You don't like those words.
I don't like the phrase wrong.
He doesn't like the words.
Because normally when she tells me I'm wrong, we're talking about feelings, how I feel about something.
No, that's not always true. That's not always true.
Yes.
That's not always true. I think that's inaccurate. I'm gonna have to call Kat. I feel like when I tell you you're wrong, it's not always about your feelings because you can't be like, you're wrong with your
That's
feelings.
what I've been telling you.
But I can't say this is like, I can challenge your feelings. That's what you don't like. You don't like when I challenge your feelings. Because I'm a person, like, I really be trying to intellectualize thoughts and feelings. Like, I need to understand it. He doesn't like when I probe of like, explain that to me outside of just, it's the way I feel. Because there's more behind it's the way I feel than it's the way I feel. So I don't be saying you're wrong from the sense of like, your feelings are wrong. I say, walk me through it. And I want to hear you talk it out. The same way I just did just now. I talked it out. It was like, when I heard it back to me, oh shit, I'm wrong. He's right. The word I'm looking for is consistent.
But see, even though it might have been an incorrect or inaccurate, I didn't use the word wrong. That's how I feel about it.
So it's the word wrong that is
because how can yes.
Okay.
Specifically when you're talking about more personal matters. Like something like a word, it's like, oh, you know her, or she'd be like, this is how it's supposed to go. And I'm like, no. And she's like, yo, you're wrong with that. You go back, you fact check it. Oh, yeah.
So, but I'm interested as to why is it specifically like we're gonna call it a trigger word wrong. Because it doesn't bother me to be told I'm wrong. No, I'm gonna debate it like anybody's gonna debate. Oh, we're gonna debate if we wrong or not. But if it turns out like just now, I was wrong wholeheartedly. I'm wrong. You're right. Why does it bother you though to use the words wrong? It relates to you.
You can't tell me I'm wrong about something that I feel. You can tell me that you don't agree. You can tell me that something is not accurate. You can tell me that you feel that I'm not qualified to speak on a subject or something like that. Or like, I don't have the expertise.
I feel like those are just nice ways of saying that you're wrong.
Because
I feel like if you tell me something based off of what you, like you said, like I feel, but I'm telling you something off of what I know as fact, and I'm like, you say, I feel like the sky is purple, and I say, no, I know the sky.
No. That we know purple is purple.
All right. Let's use this tea. This is hibiscus tea, and you say, I think this tea is a flower, and I say, no, I know this tea is a fruit because when you dry hibiscus, it becomes a fruit. Mm-hmm. But I say, no, it's a fruit. And you're like, well, no, it's a flower. You're going back and forth with me. And I'm like, you're wrong. It's a fruit. And I pull up facts that hibiscus is a fruit when it's dried. In this case, we're just saying when it's dried.
Then that case is factual. It's been studied and proven. Then yeah.
But you still don't like me saying like you're wrong. You're like, well,
I know, and in case like that, I can admit that I'm talking about when you're talking like personal, like, yo, this is how I feel it. This is how I think about things.
I don't feel like I don't apologize if I do. I do apologize if I do like tell you you're wrong off of your feelings because I don't like when I reflect and I think about it. I don't feel like I be telling you that. But Okay. But I'm like, I don't feel like I'll be telling you that.
There was something.
But if I am, then I think I want you to do the diligence of like, this is a moment where like this is something I feel you're telling me I'm wrong about this. Because I would want you to tell me I'm wrong about my feelings.
Exactly.
So I apologize for that.
I think there's one instance that I can recall, and I can't recall what we were talking about, but I do remember that like you were specific, like you're wrong, and I was like, you can't tell me I'm wrong in this situation because like it's subjective.
Understood. Yeah, I think, but I still want to circle back to kind of the feeling of being wrong because I was going somewhere with that statement. I think it's easier for women to accept that they're wrong than men. You tell a woman she's wrong, she's gonna still. I mean, at human nature, you're gonna argue whether you're wrong or right, but she's gonna be like, she's probably gonna be like, okay, even if she doesn't feel wrong, because half the time he tell me I'm wrong, I don't feel wrong, or I don't even think I'm wrong. But I knew like, do we go another hour of you telling me I'm wrong and trying to convince me I'm wrong, which is only gonna frustrate you in return. And I'm gonna still be like, I'm not wrong. Because you can, and also people that are wrong, you can tell them they're wrong to blow in the face. They still don't want to accept it.
Yeah, you don't think you're wrong.
So I feel like women are easy to accept because if you tell a man he's wrong, he will tell you verbatimly out his mouth everything wrong in it. Like, we'll say it and say, like, we'll repeat it in its wrong fashion and still be like, no, I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think that's an ego thing. And I'm not even going to get too much into that today because I think that's a whole
that is another
Pandora's box in and of itself. But I think like it's an ego thing. And thankfully I don't have that large of an ego when it comes to like admitting I'm wrong and being able to learn because I call myself a lifelong learner. You can't call yourself a lifelong learner if you're not willing to learn and like unlearn things. One of my favorite quotes is progress requires unlearning. And if you want to be better, you have to stop doing the things that you've been doing to get to where you want to be, learn new habits, learn new things, think new thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
All right, is this it?
I think this is it.
Well, I feel content and whole and spoken. You feel content, whole, and spoken?
I do.
This is the first one in a long time of just us. Thank you guys for tuning in and seeing a little bit of Ian and Jaysha. And thank you for tuning in to Beat the Maze podcast as well. We have so many exciting things coming up for the podcast, so many exciting interviews with people. And if you haven't checked them out already, please click on our Instagram, TikTok, or our YouTube, or just podcast in general.
At Beat the Maze Podcast.
At Beat the Maze Podcast. You can find all of our previous conversations with our interviewees and by ourselves as well if you're interested in those. And yeah, we will catch you on the next one. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and rate this podcast if you are listening to this via the airwaves versus viewing us in person. If you're viewing us in person, hey. And we'll see you guys next week on Monday at 8 a.m.
Have a good one.